What's up, my FY Fly folks out there? How y'all doing? I hope y'all doing all right. Welcome to the FY Fly podcast. My name is Hassan Thomas, aka the kid that did and the man that can, baby. And today, we're gonna be chopping up with financial literacy advocate and the founder of Gifting Sense, Miss Karen Holland. How are you? How are you?
I'm great, Hassan. How are you?
I am blessed, happy to have you on here. Gotta shout out my coach Derek for connecting us. He is the ultimate connector, and I'm happy that he could make it happen again.
Derek has been a very generous supporter of the Gifting Sense project.
Yes, he's a great dude, and definitely have to shout him out for all the things that he's doing with Seedling. And just what we like to do here on FY Fly is skip the fluff and get right into the good stuff. How does that sound?
It sounds great to me.
Alrighty. So where I want to start off this conversation, I want to know, were you always good with money, or was there like a certain turning point in your life where you were like, okay, now it's time to get right?
Well, yes and no, but not maybe in the way that you're asking that question. I will tell you that my mother, God rest her soul, used to quip that I was born 40 years old. So I was always sort of a serious kid and very inquisitive. How does John Hope Bryant say it? I think I was nosy as hell when I was growing up. And so that served me well, because what I'm forever telling parents and other educators is financially literate people, we don't necessarily possess all the information that we need to make personal financial decisions that support our well-being. What we possess is comfort and confidence with getting and using financial information to make decisions that support our well-being.
I like that. That's really what it's about. It's about that knowledge of having financial literacy and then being able to utilize it. So for you personally, what did your back to school shopping look like? And then compare that to what your back to school shopping looked like for your children.
My back to school shopping was structured. And so, because everything we live, we learn, back to school shopping for my family was also structured.
Okay.
I have to give my mother a lot of credit for the Gifting Sense project. So much of what she taught me has manifested itself in Gifting Sense. What happened is, at the summer before grade 8, my mother sat my sister and I down and asked us to make a list of everything we thought we would need for the upcoming school year. So Kathy and I made that list, and we thought we had a really a heavily inflated list, right? We were like, I can't believe this. This is awesome. She's letting us write down everything that we think we need and want. And then we put a price tag on all the items on that list. And then we added it all up and we divided it by the 10 months of the school year. And my mother sat down at her desk and wrote us each a check, started September 1st, went all the way through the school year for that amount of money. And that was our spending money for the whole year. And it was to buy everything.
Wow.
Jeans, gee, your hair smells terrific shampoo, pencil crayons, whatever it was you thought you needed. So how smart was she? Because initially, I'll make you laugh, Kathy and I were like, why are we even going to school? We're loaded. It was $79 a month. We got $79 a month, which felt like a king's ransom, right? However, it took me till all of mid-October to make a mess of things. Bought myself a pair of burgundy penny loafers. Preppy was all the rage when I was in grade 8, really when I was in high school. Just thought these burgundy penny loafers were all that in a bag of chips, so I bought them. And then by mid-October, guess what? Couldn't go to the movies with my friends. I mean, you could take your lunch to my school, or you could buy lunch in the cafeteria, and they were not healthy lunches back then.
So what did that specifically teach you about money management? What do you think that taught you?
Think about what buying the purchase in front of you means for future purchasing power. It's hard to think long term, especially when you're a young person, but as you know, it has huge benefit.
I love, just the passion that and the respect and the admiration that you have for your mother, what are some other lessons that she may have taught you, maybe indirectly or directly, about money, about finances? What's some of the other things that she taught you?
Well, I know Tim Geithner is credited with the quote, "Plan beats no plan," but I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
confident Betty Holland said it first
Yeah.
because it was just have a plan. Have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that you can execute all aspects of it, but it gives you a general sense of direction. And when you have a plan, it's a lot easier to respond to real time developments, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
think you're going to go to the mall and spend X on Y, and you get there and you see something else and you're like, kind of exciting. But when you've got a
Yeah.
plan, at least you're in a position to say to yourself, okay, that does look really cool and it fits. And I feel like Moses parting the Red Sea when I wear it, but it means that I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And am I happy with that trade off? But you
Mm-hmm.
can't even have that conversation in your own mind if you don't have a plan.
Yeah, I'm real big on having a plan. A lot of people are go with the flow type people, and that may work for 10% of people out there, but 90% of us, we're gonna have to have a plan. We're probably gonna have to have a plan B just in case plan A doesn't work. So I'm real big on having a plan. And even just diving back into, I mean, because literally your story was, at that time the I think you said the burgundy penny loafers were popping back then. That's what everybody wanted, and you went ahead and actually got those pair of shoes. I know you ended up maybe regretting it a little bit later, but during that moment, how did you feel going to school in the freshest and the nicest pair of shoes during that time? How did
Styling.
that make you feel?
I felt styling. I was
So you gonna
like,
keep it real. You
check.
feeling yourself.
Of course. Of course. I was like, check it out. Check.
Yeah.
I got them.
Okay, so I'm asking that because my brother, I got him a pair of Jordans for him to go back to, his first day of middle school, and he was feeling himself. He told me he loved them. He said everybody else loved them. So I want to ask you, like, where is that balance of having the nice clothes, being presentable at school, but also compared to not overspending and over leveraging yourself? Like, where do you see that balance?
You want to spend more of your back to school dollars on high use purchases.
Got you.
And when you have a plan, you'll find you're naturally doing that. I have to tell you, Hassan, I mean, we don't collect any personal information. We don't have a paywall, but we do have every completed DIN score calculation. And Air Jordans are a hot ticket. And no matter what, I mean,
Uh-huh.
everywhere I go, the adults, go to tremendous lengths, which I'm very appreciative of, to edify me about their student population. And
Mm-hmm.
they explain that their student population is, this or that or the other thing, girls or boys, and they live with scarcity or they live with abundance. And, they like this and they like that and they like the other thing. They all like the same stuff. They all want
Yeah.
Air Jordans. They all want Air Jordans. They all want to go to
Mm-hmm.
concerts. They all want to go to professional sporting events. They're all
Yeah.
interested in technology. I mean, one of the reasons I love my work is it is so restores your faith in mankind. I am here to tell you we all have a lot more in common than not.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree, and I just want to stay on that because you're hitting the exact points. Concerts, sporting events. I literally, I literally bought a ticket probably a couple weeks ago for a comedy show. I'm getting more into like comedy shows now, and because I honestly feel like comedians are like the best public speakers, but that's another topic. But I want to get, how do you rank? Because those things that we mentioned, the comedy shows, professional sporting events, those are more of wants compared to those shoes, clothing, which are more of needs when you're going to school. So how do you rank, or how do you advise students rank these needs compared to those wants? How do you advise them ranking that?
If somebody tells you they never buy wants, they only buy needs, they're a cyborg. They're not a human,
Yeah.
right? My father's almost 85 years old. He's a retired mechanical engineer, worked for General Motors his whole life. And he's got this great line. He says, if you think somebody has no issues, what does that mean? It means you're not friends. Because if you were friends, you'd know what their issues are. There's no such thing as an issueless life. So, of course, kids want to buy wants. And in the case of experiences, that's to me a special occasion purchase. So I love back to school because it's when supply and demand for shopping lines up between kids and parents. I also love birthdays and holidays
Yeah.
because, even children who come from families that live with scarcity, of course, they want to participate as fully in life as anybody else. And they believe that it's okay for them to want one birthday or holiday gift. And if you have a plan, if you can sit down with your parents, not the week before, but months before and say, okay, my birthday is coming or a winter holiday is coming. And I know you always ask all my aunts and uncles or my grandparents, or they ask you what I would like to receive. So I found this site, we had this program at school, and I calculated the Does It Make Sense score, and I know exactly how much that concert ticket's going to cost. I know what the whole experience costs, including safe transportation, snacks, and souvenirs, because the ticket price is just the beginning. Here's how
For
much of
sure.
my own money I'm willing to contribute to that, right? When you're hardwiring yourself for a successful conversation with your parents. And we go through the whole process, and there are little learn more buttons in the dim score calculator because we tried to keep the screens uncluttered. We're responsive design. But I always encourage kids to press on those. And one of them for experiences says, ask the kids, do your parents ever wax poetic about their own childhood? Walk down memory lane and talk about the first time they got to take public transportation by themselves or go to a concert, and everybody nods their heads because it's a natural
Yeah.
thing. And I'm like, let them do that. It softens them up and helps them remember, right, when they were your age. And the only way that their dreams were going to come true is if their parents helped them. And a question I get from a lot of kids is, okay, so I go through this process, I'm organized, I have a plan. The answer is still no. Then what? I'm like, okay. The answer is no for two primary reasons in my experience. Number one, they don't think you're old enough for the experience that you're asking for, right? You're not old enough to take public transportation without an adult.
Yeah.
So the good news is, one question I say to classrooms all the time is, what are 11 or 12-year-olds doing around the world without exception, regardless of ethnicity, location, religion, anything? Growing. They're growing. So the good news is, what's not appropriate now is probably will be appropriate at some point in the future. So hang on to
Yeah,
that.
delayed gratification. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the second reason is because you're asking for something that's really expensive and your family doesn't have time to put a long enough plan in place to save up and pay for it. And they can also use the shareable summary that they can produce of all the math and thinking they've gone through to crowdfund the purchase of one larger, more meaningful gift. I mean, after about age 11, kids, you're experiencing this with your younger brother, they have very specific preferences. And they often come with a price tag that exceeds what individual gift givers are willing to spend if it's not our parents. But
Yeah.
I've never met a grandparent or an aunt and uncle who wouldn't rather put 20, 30, 40, $50 towards something you'll use and appreciate versus earrings you won't wear, books you won't read, music you don't listen to, gift cards for stores you don't shop at. Let's stop all of that. There is a gracious way to ask for gifts that you'll really use and appreciate.
Yeah.
And what's so fantastic about that is it avoids disappointment, reduces waste, improves family harmony, and protects the planet all at once for free.
I love it. I love it. Just going back to that initial thinking, planning it out, being able to kind of have that vision. Okay, if you want these pair of shoes, if you want these certain clothes, if you want this belt, we're going to have a plan. We're going to have to, talk and communicate. So that really makes sense. But I want to get from you, like personally, was it a certain scenario that you went through? I saw that you worked previously before starting Gifting Sense, that you worked, for Canada's largest bank. What was it, a certain scenario that you went through, somebody that you
Well,
helped, that you saw? What
okay.
made you start Gifting Sense?
Here's what happened. It took me a long time to become a mother. And I'm one of
Mm-hmm.
three girls. I grew up in a pink and yellow house. We ate lots of quiche and salad. Nothing was ever stained or broken. And we all
Mm-hmm.
ended up having boys. So my sisters and I were on the phone, go like, what is happening? Right.
Yeah.
So I literally spent 10 years on the sidelines of baseball and hockey games. 10
Okay.
years. And you end up spending like every weekend with all of these families. So, you get to be very friendly with these families. So when I knew that my friends would be amenable, I would sort of kind of, give the kid a poke and say, hey, you just got a bat last weekend. Or have you thought about this? And then, we're big
Yeah.
Scrabble players in my family. We love words. We love TLAs, 3-letter acronyms, although DIM score is a 4-letter acronym. And it literally
Mm-hmm.
fell out of me. What's the does it make sense score? And then it got to the point where, by the time Matt was graduating high school, my friends were saying, go talk to Karen. Like, what's the DIM score? I kind of
Really?
love, oh, yes, what's
Wow.
the DIM score is sort of become this catchphrase that schools are telling me, kids are chanting in the halls and siblings are yelling down stairways to their brothers or sisters. What's the DIM score? Did you really think about that? Even
Yeah.
our adult friends sort of kid around with my husband and I and say high DIM score, low DIM score.
I love it. I love it. So and that's why I wanted to kind of get to the root of, okay, where did this gifting sense, where did the dip school, where did everything come from? So that's amazing.
Very
When you're
homegrown, organic.
hmm and when you're talking to students, is money mindfulness something that you bring up, something that you talk about? Like, how important is being mindful when it comes to your purchase and when it comes to your decisions for children going through this impressionable time, as you said?
Well, here's my closer for every workshop. So the workshops are divided into three parts. They take thinking before buying for a test drive. They literally calculate that doesn't make sense score for something they're interested in buying. And then we
Mm-hmm.
talk about how that does so much more than just save them money. And then I bring it all home with a comparison between team sports and being money smart, which I think you'll enjoy. So let's
Yeah.
let's role play. Let's you and I do it. Hassan, what's your favorite sports team?
I'm gonna go Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons.
Okay. And I'm sorry, is that basketball?
It's
Football.
football. Mm-hmm.
Football. So, how do the Falcons beat the New York Jets? How does one team beat any team in a team sports setting? And I'm looking for a very simple answer, and it rhymes with door.
Score.
You got it. So, in football, we score. I'm not a football expert, but I believe you score by running the ball down the field, and you either get a touchdown or a field goal. And
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
called,
A score.
right? It's called a score, but it's offense, right? When we
Yes.
score points, it's offense. So this is the great thing about middle schoolers. They're attuned with these terms.
Mm-hmm.
So Atlanta scores 10 points. And who did I say? The New York Jets, they
The
scored 10
Jets.
points,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a tie. Nobody's winning. So offense alone isn't enough to win. You need offense and
Defense.
correct. And so it goes with managing your personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
Financial offense is earning an income. 10 to 14-year-olds aren't adult income earners in charge of households. So they earn income by having part-time jobs,
Mm-hmm.
babysitting, painting a fence, folding laundry, and they're starting to get gifted money for birthday and holiday gifts.
Yep.
Financial defense, nothing other than spending what you earn with a plan. And that's what
Mm.
they learn to do in the workshop.
Simple as that. Go on offense, make your money, and then play some defense by managing your money effectively and efficiently. I love
Because
it. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, I can't have you on the show. I can't have you on FY Fly and not ask you our famous final
oh, yes,
question. So
I'm
I'm gonna
ready.
say two quotes. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna say two quotes, and I need you to let me know which one is more accurate in your opinion. So the first one is more money, more problems like Biggie Smalls. And the second one is money can't buy happiness. Which one do you agree with most? Which one is most accurate?
Okay, I'm going to tell you, I've been waiting for this question because I've been listening to your podcast. And so I've heard it before. And I
Yeah.
will tell you, I don't like either.
What?
I find them both gross oversimplifications and annoying.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, more money, more problems? No. it's not more problems or less problems, it's different problems. When you have more money, you just have different problems, right? And I know that a family that lives with scarcity thinks like, well, give me those problems. But the problems that people who live with abundance experience, they're real to them, and they're just as burdensome, right? Do people only like me because I have money? How do I raise children that know the value of a dollar, that aren't entitled because, you know, some of the trade-offs aren't as front and center as they are for a family that lives with scarcity? You know,
Yeah.
they have security issues. And trust me when I tell you, like, those challenges feel very real to those people. So I've never been a fan of this, you know, idea that you don't have any problems or fewer problems. You have different problems. They're just different.
Got you. More money, different
Right.
problems.
Different problems.
hmm I love it. I love it. You've provided so much value today, Miss Karen. And just if you have any final words, any final takeaways,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay. Well, can I? This is sort of my pitch to school administrators, but
Yeah,
people really like it. So can I share it with you?
for sure. Share with
Um,
all of us.
okay. I'm going to ask you the question that I ask them. What did George Washington, first president of the United States, Florence Henderson, the mother from the Brady Bunch television program, and
hmm
your grandparents have in common?
All pretty old.
Okay, right? Okay. Dentures. Dentures. They all
Got
had
you.
dentures. Do you know anybody that has dentures today?
My grandmother did, yes.
You did. Right.
My great grandmother did, yes.
Right. Okay. So this is where I get excited. If
hmm
we want an example of how simple habits adopted early in life can permanently improve the well being of citizens around the world, we don't have to look any further than the history of toothbrushing. Did you know that regular toothbrushing only became a thing after the Second World War?
Oh wow. No, I
True
didn't.
story. Yeah, so trench mouth wasn't just something from the movies. Like, nobody looked after their teeth, and soldiers literally had trench mouth, and so they couldn't perform their duties. Because think about it, if you
hmm
have a really bad toothache, you really can't do anything else. So,
Yeah.
number one in the chain of command, brush your teeth twice a day. Soldiers adopt this habit because they have to, and then they take it home to their families. And here's where I get so excited. 40
hmm
years, blip in the history of mankind. In 40 years, oral cavities go from an early onset childhood disease to a late onset adult disease. So my husband of 34 years doesn't have a cavity. He doesn't have a
hmm
cavity. Not only dentists taught their kids to brush their teeth.
Yeah.
I'll say to a parent, if it's a parent workshop, did you teach your kids to brush your teeth? Everybody answers yes. Are you a dentist? No. Oral surgeon? No. Oral hygienist? No. And I'm like, wait a minute. You gave your kids a twice a day habit in a field in which you didn't go to school. You have no expertise. Why did you do that?
Mm,
You did it because you understood the long-term benefit of that simple habit.
got
Thinking
you.
before buying is the same. Anybody can teach their kid to think before they buy. It's
hmm
easy to teach, powerful, and sticky. So let's do it and eliminate financial illiteracy.
I see it. I see it. I see
Right?
it. I see it clearly. Like I said, Karen, you've provided so much value here today for all of our listeners. And I promise you, if you all listening can, I know we talked about a lot here, but if you can take a couple gems that Karen dropped here today and start to apply them into your life, I promise there will be large results over time. So, Karen, again, thank you so much for joining the FY Fly podcast. Please let everyone know how they can connect with you, contact you, any social media that you may have. Definitely let them
Gifting
know.
Sense, giftingsense.org. And if you write to me via the contact form on the site, I will respond.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
And
Hassan. I really appreciate it. I know thinking before buying and back to school isn't your typical topic, so I really appreciate you stepping out of your box to have this conversation.
hey, anything financial is our topic here on FY Fly. So it was great to have you here. And for all of our listeners, you all already know we need y'all to stay safe, stay invested, and stay FYI Fly. See y'all next week.